Hey y'all, welcome back to the Checks and Balance podcast. I'm Key,
And I'm Neek, and we're bringing our text thread to the camera. We're back.
part two.
Yes. Welcome back, y'all.
Yes, it's been a little minute.
Yeah,
We gave y'all a little minute. We wanted to just get a little feedback, but now we're back.
we're back. And we do appreciate all the feedback.
Yes, we
Everything has
do.
been so positive. So
So
we're definitely
positive.
grateful for everybody who has watched, shared,
Mm,
liked the page, commented on the page. We
yep.
appreciate all the feedback. Like anywhere I go, it's somebody.
No, for real. Wait, I was driving to work and somebody pulled me over. Was like, "When the next episode coming out?" I was like, "We about to go film it on Sunday."
Yes,
So
I'm like
yeah,
recording days
yes.
on Sunday. So thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. We do appreciate it. We're back today and we have a topic. Last time we didn't really have a topic. We were just
Yeah.
here
We were just
introducing
trying to
ourselves, catching the
smooth.
vibe. Yeah. Today we have a topic and this is not rehearsed, right? So it's not rehearsed. We don't know like where the conversation's going to go, but I'm interested in the conversation and I do think that it is an important conversation that we need to have.
Yeah, so we both grew up differently. I came from a two-parent home where she didn't. So
Yeah.
that's where our conversation is, and we want to talk about how, you know, what it's like to just bring kids into this world really without an idea.
What she's trying to say the nice way is
Mhm.
that we want y'all to put the value back on two-parent households.
That's true.
It is valuable, it is necessary, and it's a conversation that, I think we shy away from because we don't want to be offensive
Right.
because today everybody's offended.
But in a sense, we both have children.
Outside of being
But
married,
yeah.
we're no longer with the people
Mhm.
that we had children with, some of the children, because,
Right.
but like, yeah, so we're not, the conversation is not to judge, right? The conversation is more so of like what I've witnessed as a parent and as a parent to now an almost adult.
Yeah.
Like I've raised my son now almost into adulthood.
Mhm.
So like I've seen the effects of, you know, just me being his mom and then him having a step parent in the house. I see the effects of some of his friends who don't have dads at all.
Mhm.
I see some of the effects of that in other kids that I'm around. And most importantly, like, I can personally speak on the effects of not being raised in a household with parents at all.
Right.
I was definitely raised with a lot of love, and that love was even love included from my parents,
Mhm.
right? They just weren't in the household that I was being brought up in. They loved me. My family loved me. I never felt like I was missing love. I was raised on love,
Mhm.
so I
It
wasn't
just wasn't
missing that.
from
It
a
wasn't in a
two-parent home.
household with what we all know as family, a mom, a dad, and children.
Right.
And it's funny because when I was thinking about this and when it was like really laying on me, I'm like, what's really crazy about the conversation is that like Kita had a mom and a dad that were married in her house,
Mhm.
her childhood growing up. And that's not something like we've talked about it, but it's not something that we really ever expressed how that felt. Because for you, I'm pretty sure as a child, like you probably didn't even think about the fact that you had two
Never
parents. That was
never
normal to
thought. Yeah, it
you.
was normal. It was
That was
normal. And
normal.
it's even weirder because like you think about how like schools are now, like when they have like Mother's Day or Father's Day events, and how kids are, it's so different because you had like that, it's a conversation
Yeah.
about how kids are growing up without a mother and a father. And I don't know, it's
You wanna know something? Grandparents' Day was my day to shine. That was my day to
at
shine
school.
because my grandma was coming.
Mm,
Like,
I
anything
don't
that
remember
had to
no
do
Grandparents' Day.
we had Grandparents' Day, and that was the one day that I was always,
I don't have
like,
no Grandparents.
excited for because both of my grandmoms would be at Grandparents' Day.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And that was a day that I felt like, "Oh, this for me."
Yeah.
Like, this day is for me, you know what I mean? Because, like, those were the people that raised me. So, like, it is different, and it's definitely a conversation that, it isn't intentional conversation that I wanna have about the intentional like, the reasons that we need to bring these kids and these babies into the world. Babies are blessings,
Right.
having children is a blessing, everybody's not capable. to birth children, carry children, have children. So like if we're able to do that, like that's an honor that I feel
Yeah,
like
no. I think about that from myself, like I had a kid at 19 and it was a boyfriend. It wasn't like
yeah.
at the time, yeah, I thought that that's who I was going to be with for the rest of my life, but when you just can't make those type of decisions at that age, especially knowing like that's really not how life works,
No, it's not.
and even after getting pregnant and things change and it's like, bruh, I'm bringing a kid into this world and who knows where our life is going to go, because I don't see that we're going to be together forever, but
We're here now.
yeah, and I hate that we think that way. I mean, granted, pro-life, I'm all for pro-life, I'm all for that, but it's like, what steps can you take before even getting to that point,
There's all type of steps that you can take to prevent
Mhm.
something happening that's unplanned, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
my whole thing is I think that this takes nothing away from single moms because I was a single
Right.
mom before.
Me too.
You were a single. I
Yeah.
watched you do a damn good job raising
Listen,
your kids by yourself
bruh.
for plenty of years. You know what I mean? It was plenty of years that it was
Mhm.
just y'all.
Yeah, it was. And
It was
guess
just
what? I
y'all.
worked 2 jobs and I did what I had to do and I did not complain. I went to work, I
It's the
came
choices
home,
you
I was
made.
tired, and I was like, listen, those weekends when I didn't have to do nothing, it was just me and my kids, I'm like, this is the best times ever. Do I miss that? No. I love how my life is now,
Right.
and it sometimes, I'm conflicted because I'm like, I really brought 2 kids into this world without their father basically like growing with us, because I don't know how they feel about it. Well, I know how they feel about
Yeah.
it, but it's like I wish that it could have been different, but I don't, because where we're at right now is where they
It's
need
a
to be
beautiful
at. Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And my husband is not their father, but he's been in their lives since they were 3 and a couple months old, and it's never been no stepdad, no
Right.
step nothing. Like that's their dad. Like when it comes down to it, and when they're out and people ask them questions, oh no, I gotta ask my dad, the one at home.
Yeah.
So I'm real big on that. I
Yeah.
want my kids
Family.
to see how a woman is supposed to be treated and how a man is supposed to be treated.
Right.
You
You want to be that example.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. It even down to like little stuff like when I make dinner, how that whole conversation about how, oh, who eats first? Is it the man or the kids?
Yeah.
My kids, if I cook dinner, the first thing, if they come in the kitchen, they'll be like, oh, do you want me to take him his plate? Because they know that everybody's going to eat regardless, But
It's order.
yeah, it's order.
Yeah.
It's order.
And that's really what is important. Like
Mhm.
that's really what the conversation is about, because a lot of times like we're products of our environment.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And we start out as products of our
Mhm.
environment. What we do with that after we become is what we do with that
Right.
after we become, right? But whatever you see and whatever you're taught is what you do.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you watched a single woman take care of kids, a family, with no man there and everything was fine, this woman did everything she was supposed to do.
Mhm.
You don't feel like you wanted for nothing, you didn't need nothing. That's true, right? She handled everything she needed to handle. She brought y'all up. Everything was fine. But we can't be fathers
No.
to sons.
No.
We can't be fathers
Mm-mm.
to daughters. We can't be fathers. And there's nothing that we can do to replace a father,
Right.
unless you're like marrying and a man is going to take on the responsibility of raising this child.
That's true.
By yourself,
Mm-mm.
there
A
is
man,
nothing.
It's hard to raise
There's
a
nothing
boy
that you can
without
do.
a man.
There's nothing you can do.
Mm-mm.
There's nothing you can do. And people really like, oh, I don't need you. Like, let's stop that.
No,
Stop
you
that
definitely
narrative.
you
Stop
definitely
telling men it's okay to not be there for their kids if
Now,
they
granted,
don't
if
want
you
to
don't want to
there.
be there, then by all means, as a woman, do what you need to
You
do.
gonna figure
but-
it out.
Yeah,
We
you gonna figure it out.
out.
But it should never be a conversation like, oh, I don't need you.
You do.
You
don't need them,
but
your
the child does,
needs them.
especially if it's a boy. Like a
Even
boy,
girls though.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I'm gonna tell you the
Yeah.
importance for the girls. You don't you
See,
just
it's
skip
hard-
that because
see,
you had it.
But and that's the thing. And I
You're
was gonna
gonna
say
skip
it's
that
hard. It's hard
importance.
for me to say like what a female would need because I had
You
both,
had it.
So
And I
can't-
admire. Listen,
Yeah, and
that's the reason why I was always close with your dad.
Mhm.
It's crazy, but I was always close to your dad because I loved the way that he was with you.
Yeah,
He reminded me of the relationship that I had with my uncle,
Mhm.
right? And it was like that was my safe place. My uncle did everything that a father was supposed to do, but, like, he wasn't my dad, you know what I mean? But he did
Yeah.
everything. I'm talking about this man did everything from the point of ironing my clothes before school
Yes.
to dropping me off in front of the school door and picking me up in front of the school door, like, princess treatment all day, all night.
Girl, that's how exactly how my
Literally,
dad
I had
was.
princess treatment
Yes.
all, but I still had that little void. I was still
'Cause it's not your
missing something.
yeah, it wasn't your
I was
father.
still missing something because I remember being a kid and people would talk about my mom and my dad, and,
Right.
like, I didn't have that conversation to be able to have with them.
Right.
I was kinda, like, quiet. Not for nothing, like, this is gonna sound funny and y'all probably gonna laugh, but not for nothing, imagine a little white lady coming in, my grandma.
Don't do Nance like that.
I'm not, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like, my grandma was at everything, but then I had to explain also why this little brown girl had this white lady. That was my grandmom, though. Like,
Right.
that's my grandmom. But if you didn't know, you didn't know. And then I'm like, well, now people think I'm adopted. Shit. Like, now
I'm
I don't even
adopted.
have family.
Now they just got me from off the street.
No. Seriously,
That's
like, now I
funny.
don't even have it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's so many things that, you know, as parents, we feel like we have under control. We have covered. I do this and I do that.
Mhm.
But we're also not seeing it from the lens of these children
Right.
that have to go through
Right.
everyday life,
Mhm.
and they have to answer for why their dad doesn't come to their basketball games or their
Right.
football games, or why their parents aren't showing up to student of the month events. And, you know, like, little things that we overlook and we don't deem to be important.
There's kids that are literally going through that.
I was a kid
Mhm.
that went through that. So it's like being a kid that experienced that to becoming an adult. And I'm going to tell you, honestly speaking, I'm still unpacking
Your
some of
childhood,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm still unpacking that. I'm still trying to, you know, sort through what triggers me.
Right.
I'm still trying to understand, like, who I am as a woman, who I am as a person. Like, what's the things that really sum all that up?
Right.
You know, and I know, like, things could always be different. We always
Mhm.
could see things different. So it's not even I'm not in a place where it's like, oh, I wish this would have been. I'm totally content
Right.
where things are at. And I also give my parents grace as well.
And
I
not
give them
only
grace
that, like,
too.
you probably wouldn't be who you were today if you didn't go through that. Like, that's just, I mean, we all have our different struggles, and that's just your struggle that you went through, and it really just shaped you to be who you are as a woman and as a parent too. So
Yeah. And I also am mindful, like, you know, I will admit and I feel like I have spent a lot of time, like, trying to fill in imaginary gaps.
Mhm.
They're imaginary, right? I'm making that up. Those are gaps that I had.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to, like, fill those gaps in with my child, and they're not even real gaps.
No, that's true. I have a question because that makes me think, because you say like you try to fill things in. So like, because like you have a kid and you're not with his father. Do you feel like you do more for him because he lacks from his father?
No.
I'ma say, because that's where I'm different at. So with Fred and Peyton, I feel like I do a little bit more because they lack. When I know they don't, it's just because of the extra, like, yeah, they know they have a father who is not
There
like
all the time.
at the house where we
Yeah.
live at. He's not active. We're gonna be honest. We're gonna be completely honest. He's
Yeah,
not
completely
active.
honest. My son's dad's not either.
Yeah, he's not active. So it's like I think it's because that's how I was with them before I got with Leo. So I felt like I had to do more for them,
Overcompensating.
Like, yeah, and then it's like I'll be thinking like I don't have to do that because they have everything they need. If they need something from him, if they need something from me, it gotta go through him first anyway. So it's like this is just where we're at. But that's something that I just had to figure out within like a couple months, because especially with like Fred and his nonsense, I'm like, I do a lot for him, and I was always doing a lot for him because I felt like he was lacking, but he really wasn't. It's just
It's not that he's lacking,
It's
right?
not at
it's
all.
not it's not that he's not lacking anything. He has love, he has support, he
Mhm.
has people even outside of your home.
Right.
Right? It extends outside of your house.
Mhm.
All that support extends outside. It's just that being that kind of kid myself, it's not a lack because we have everything.
Right.
It's just that it don't matter what you give. it don't matter what you do. It don't matter.
It's just that little
It's
voice.
that's something that no one can fix but the person who broke it.
I understand that.
You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you could do whatever you want to do. You could go crazy trying to overcompensate if you
Right.
want to.
Yeah.
It's not going to do that.
Mhm.
That's something that is going to have to be worked out with the individuals that it concerns. It
Right.
don't concern you. Cuz as a mom, you're doing everything
Right.
that as a mom can do.
And I grew up, so I grew up with, I was the only actual child that was both my mom and my father. So I saw how my mom treated me and my sisters, and I saw how my dad treated me and my sisters. But there is an age gap, so
Yeah.
I was always treated a little differently. But my dad wasn't, two of my sisters' biological father. But no one would even know that. No one would ever even guess that
Yeah.
unless it was a conversation. And like I have conversations with one of my sisters, and she always tells me like she never lacked anything. She never felt any type of difference. She feels like her life would have been worse if she would have had, the other parent in her life. So it's like I understand that, but I don't know, like
It's not this is and I think this is we're the perfect people to have the conversation
mm,
because there's a side of that you have no comprehension
at all.
about.
At all.
None. And it's okay.
And then
it's
it's like
okay.
and then it's like I raise a kid,
two kids.
I keep saying a kid because
Peyton is his own child.
Peyton was
His own
such a
child.
baby
Yes.
when I started. So it's like
It's one of those things where I never tried to overcompensate for anything with you because I knew.
Yeah.
Because I too traveled that road. So I didn't have to overcompensate. I never felt like I had to overcompensate because I already knew like it's nothing you're going to do. It's nothing you're going to do that's going to change that.
Right.
I can't do anything.
Do you feel like with the way that you grew up, do you feel, well, no, I can't say the way you grew up because you grew up with love, but me personally, I feel like people who I don't want it to sound bad, but
No,
I've been in relationships with men who came from, single women, that's who raised them. And the way that I was treated by them versus a man who was raised by somebody who came from a two-parent home is completely different. Never ever called me out my name, never, you know what I mean? Like, and I think he saw the way that his father treated his mother, so that's how you move. And that's kind of how like how I try to mirror my life as well. I've never seen like my parents really, they argue, but it wasn't like nothing where I was like, oh, they're gonna break up. I never felt that. Like they used to curse each other out, and I would just laugh, like, cause I know my parents, but I
Yeah.
never felt like, oh, they're gonna leave. Like we're not gonna all be together, But the way that a person who is from a single parent has loved me is like, damn, like this is what you grew up experiencing. So this is like what you're putting out.
It's learned behavior.
That's
It's
deep.
learned. It's deep, and I think that's another thing that people really don't understand. Like, I'm not saying that anyone should tolerate being mistreated in any kind of way, shape, or form. No, absolutely not. But I think that's the point that I'm trying to make is that while we are now the parents, let's not raise these broken grown men.
No.
Let's not raise these these
It's fun.
little
Girl,
girls
listen,
that are seeking love outside of their
No.
home, and
I
let's
told
not
Leo
because I was a product of that.
Yeah.
I was a product of that.
I told Leo probably like last week. We had this is why this is so weird. We had a conversation about like our kids and how I said I don't want this to sound, wrong, shady or nothing. I said, but I don't want my daughter to be out here just dating somebody who's trying to figure themselves out. I want her to date somebody who's coming from a two-parent home because she knows what it feels like to be loved. She knows what it feels like for you to love her. That's the only girl, so she feels all of that. And I'm like, I could see if she goes out here and she starts dating somebody who doesn't know who they are because of how they grew up, that's gonna break who she is. It's gonna mess up who she is. It's gonna start to make her be insecure about who she is, and she's gonna do things that's not her. And I'm like, I can't imagine my daughter going through that. Like, I think I went through that, so you don't have to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I feel the same way about my sons. Like, y'all need to see what it's like to know what a two-parent home is so that you can build that. You don't want to just go out here and just get this girl pregnant, get that girl pregnant, and move on with your life. It don't work that way. You have to make sure you know what you're doing because there's kids involved, It's not simple.
They're
You can't just be
innocent.
like, oh, yeah, I got a baby on the way. It's not like that. It's not like that. And people really do think like that. Oh,
No,
yeah,
they
I got a
do.
baby on the way. Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a baby mom. I got a baby dad. No.
At a certain
No.
point in time, that's crazy. Like at a certain point, at a certain age, that's crazy.
Mm-mm.
First of all, I'm not even going to tap dance around it. I'm going to go right into it. I don't care. I'm not even going to tap dance around it, right? Do you know how risky, how at risk we are every time we're in labor and delivery?
Tuh.
Do you know how much we risk our lives to bring life into
Girl,
this world?
risking our lives, the
Why
pain, all of that.
on earth?
Pain and the suffering.
Why
It's
on
pain
earth
and suffering.
are we doing that for just
A baby dad.
anybody? Why are we doing that?
A baby dad.
Why are we doing that?
Girl, I don't know.
And the kids have to suffer. I don't care what you provide, what you do, how many trips you take them on, how much Gucci, Fendi,
That's
Prada you
true.
put on them. I
They're
don't
still
care
suffering.
about any of it.
Because it's not. That's
They
the outside.
lacking
That's
in
the
their
outside.
home.
Yeah.
They're lacking in
Their
their structure and their
mentality,
upbringing.
their
They're not
mental, their
seeing how a
emotional,
man's
all of
supposed to
that.
treat a woman. They are watching you go from man to man.
Mm-mm. Now that's just nasty.
I'm not saying stay in relationships that are not meant to be in anymore.
Oh yeah.
I'm
yeah.
not saying, because listen, and that's why I'm not even going into the scripture of it, or the church aspect of it, and saying, oh, be
No.
married. I'm not going to do any of
No.
that, because I didn't do any of that,
No.
right? But what I'm going to say is be intentional. Stop bringing these kids here on unsolid foundation. Stop bringing these kids here with the mind frame that they don't need a dad. They need a dad.
That's true. And don't get me wrong, people do have hiccups and it happens.
Yes.
But you gotta learn from it. You
You,
can't
okay,
tell
a
her-
hiccup is a hiccup, but are we hiccuping? Like, are you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
6, 7, 8.
Come on.
Yeah, no.
It's not fair to the kids.
At all.
It's
I
not
agree.
fair to the kids. Like, I don't care what we do, what we say. The kids are the future. And the same traumas that we're steady trying to heal from, we're inflicting on them.
That's true. That's very true.
The same things we're unpacking in our 30s, we're giving to them. Oh, we survived. We made
But
it.
you can't say that, because at the time that we had kids, because we're in our 30s now, so you said we're unpacking it, but at the time we had kids, we had them young.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a pass. I'm gonna give a pass. A pass is due.
But this is for the people who
are 25 and up.
and know exactly
You
what
know
it
right
means
from
to bring
wrong.
a kid into this world.
Yeah.
And saying, "Oh, I don't need
Yeah.
a dad." No.
And the reason why I'm saying, like, I'm gonna give everybody a pass, because we all have been young. We've all done stuff that Lord knows we wouldn't have done if we had a little bit more guidance, a little bit more education, a little bit more, a little bit more. We wouldn't have done
Yeah.
those things. But as we sit here today, us 30, especially us 30 and up folk, us 30 and up folk, yeah, no, absolutely not. But at 25 too, I feel like at 25, your life is supposed to be doing a shift.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be shifting
Definitely.
and realizing what's what and what's not, at that point in time. If you're not doing it, yeah, I'm gonna give you a little bit more grace. But at our age, like, there's absolutely no reason why we
just out
are
here popping our
letting
kids
history,
and-
it's not even that, we're letting history continuously repeat itself. You grew up with no dad, okay, well, it's fine for him to grow up with no dad. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Mm-mm.
Like, my child struggled, I would say, through the ages probably of, I don't know, I'll say like maybe 6 through 12 with that. Like,
I think because at that age they definitely want a father. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they want their dad. As a
Yeah.
boy. They want their dad.
and it don't matter who was there, because Jeff was there since he was 3.
No, that's facts.
It don't matter who's
Mhm.
there. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's no point in trying to overcompensate or trying to compensate anything for what they're missing on that front,
Right.
because there's nothing we can do.
Mm-mm.
I just knew how to maneuver through that because I've experienced it.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, I also found myself trying to fill in fake gaps too. What I thought I needed as a kid, but what I needed as a kid, he probably don't need that.
That's true.
Because I'm
Yeah.
providing things that, like, you know what I mean? I'm doing what I have to do.
Mhm.
Everything that I can as a mom, everything that I feel like I can. And there's times where he had to, like, put me back in pocket. I'm mad I'm saying this live like this because he gonna use it against me
He's
later.
probably gonna make a clip.
Oh, he's going to have a ball,
He's
right?
gonna make a clip.
But there literally were times where it was like he had to let me know, like, he didn't feel like I was doing what he needed from me. And here I am, like, I'm doing everything I can.
But at least y'all have that. You can have that.
I'm open
Communication.
to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to listen because I mean,
Right.
I didn't have parents in my house. I didn't have the mom and dad model to know what to go off of.
Mhm.
Like my grandmoms and my aunt and my uncle were the parents, you know what I mean? They raised me up. So I did, take a lot from what they've done. But when it comes to like an actual mom and dad, I didn't have that. I didn't see that every day.
Mm.
So I was kind of like not winging it, but winging it. What is a mom?
Right.
I knew what my grandmom was.
But that wasn't.
I knew who she was. I knew who both my grandmoms were. They were my grandmoms. I knew who my aunt was. They were the closest thing I had to mom and dad because they were male, female, married. You know what I mean? That was like a mom and dad, but they were my aunt and my uncle.
Right.
So when it came to like, what is it? How do you be a mom? It's instinct.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna say it's definitely instinct.
But I know you do a lot of things your mom probably did with your kids.
I don't know.
You don't think you take anything from how she raised y'all and you implement that in your
Like
household?
I know there's certain things that I say and I'd be like, damn, I sound just like my mom.
Yeah.
But that I don't know because like my childhood was different. Like I don't know. Like
how was your childhood being raised in a household with your mom and dad?
my childhood being raised with with my parents, both parents was I was spoiled. So it was like whatever I wanted to do, I was able to do. When it came down to trips, if I wanted to go on a school trip, my dad was going on a trip with me. I think for a while, like people didn't know I had a mom because like my dad did everything with me. But I'm like, this is what I had a mom, like I went home and this is who cooked dinner. This is who she worked and did everything. My dad didn't work, he got hurt on the job. So he did a lot of the school stuff with me. He did help me with homework. Same thing with my sisters, help me with homework. He was at every basketball game. He was at every school, function. But I don't think that was like, that's something that's like, oh yeah, you didn't have.
So how do you think your life would have been if you just had your mom there and your dad wasn't there? Do you think that would have like...
Oh, that would have been different because that was who I relied on, was my dad, Like my dad was I'm a daddy's girl.
Yeah.
You
Always been to the point he
Listen.
was coming to take trash out at a whole
Listen.
apartment that he didn't live at. That he didn't live at. But I really admired that. Like, and that's the thing, like, where, because I was raised with love, I was
Mhm.
never bitter towards people who had
Yeah.
moms and dads. Like, it
Right.
wasn't a bitter, it was never a bitter thing. I actually loved being around your mom and your dad. And I would love being around your dad because I would see, and it always reminded me, like, this is how my uncle treats me. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
So I was never really lacking. It wasn't about lacking. And, I never felt like, oh, I don't have anyone or no one loves me. I knew my parents loved me too. They were around. I seen them all the time. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They just weren't in a position at that time to raise us.
Right.
So it was like, thank you.
For giving me life.
Thank you.
That.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that you knew that.
Right.
And you let people that were gonna be able to do it and do it right, do it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like no feelings bad towards them because I'm learning now as a parent that sometimes you really got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And kids don't understand that. As a kid, you don't understand that, right? You don't. But now that I'm an adult and I'm raising a child and I almost have an adult child, I understand, like, what would have happened if they would have selfishly not given me to the people that
made your life worse.
So even though at the time I didn't understand, and even though at the time I thought I was missing something, now that I'm here as a grown adult raising a child, I'm thankful. And I'm also, appreciative to the fact that they knew to do that.
Right.
And I also give credit to where they are today. Like, you know what I mean? They're not where they were at when I was born.
Right.
You know what I mean? Y'all came a long way.
Mm.
And now it's like, I understand. I understand that as parents, we have to make decisions sometimes. Sometimes the decisions that we make don't always make sense to other people.
Mm.
They don't understand why I'm doing what I'm doing,
Right.
or what's the reason why something is going on. But as a parent, you're going to always put your kid first.
Absolutely.
Or you should, at least. Put
Well,
your kids
I'm
first.
speaking for myself.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Speaking for myself too. I try to put my kid first. I'm not gonna always say that every decision I make is putting him first. I think I do,
Yeah.
but I don't know. If I ask my child that today, would he say yes? And I'm open to hearing like what he would say because at the end of the day, it's gonna make me a better parent.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think my kids will always say that I put them first.
Yeah, and one would hope so. You know what I mean? I try to do that
Mhm.
in everything I do, put my kid first. Because you got to think about it too. Like, we think, oh, some parents, oh, I'm the mom, I'm the dad. What I say is this. But what about considering these kids
Yeah.
because they
See,
have feelings
and
too?
that's where I'm different at. Like I feel like with my parents, when it came down to it, if it came, especially when it came down to school, if they got a call from school, it was just like, oh, that's what you did. They
Mm,
didn't want to hear anything I had to say. Where I'm different, I want to hear what you got to say. What's your take on it? So I don't know.
yeah.
I do know that like growing up with two parents in a home, it there's some things I didn't like. Like I didn't like my parents cursing at me, and my kids will tell you right now that I've never cursed at them.
Oh, shoot. Mm.
No, never.
He gonna be like, yeah,
Fred might have got it. 'Cause Fred,
Listen, I'm still working.
but,
Look, I'm still working on it. I'm still working on
no.
it because I listen. He's also 17 though, so it's kind
Yeah.
of like, bro, I gotta get with you sometime.
Yeah, that's one thing I hated. My dad he would cuss me out. That's one
He would still do it even as an adult.
but as a kid, like I didn't, especially like from your dad, like, dang, why you cursing me out like that? You ain't had to do me like that. Like that's how, and
But you
like,
must have did something back because I don't think he would just jump to that. He wasn't just jumping to curse
girl,
you out.
yes, he would.
He was just, I never seen
Yeah.
him curse you out.
Yeah, he
Maybe
would.
like as we got older.
No, he would curse me out as a kid. He did not care. He would curse me out. My mom, he's like, don't be talking to her like
Nancy
that.
cursed us out every chance she got.
Mm-mm,
That's probably why I be
did
cursing
not,
you out.
yo, I did not like that. That used to hurt my feelings. Like he cursed it, like you didn't even have to.
Well,
beat
that's because
me.
I think the light that you saw your dad in.
Yeah, and,
I
like, you
think that's
cursing me
probably the
out.
difference. Yeah, you saw him in a different light. So if he was cursing you out, it crushed you.
Yeah. You want to know what's weird though, because we're having this conversation, so it makes me think. So after like losing, my mom passed away in 2016, and then my dad passed away in 2020. So it was like I had went to therapy because I was grieving. And when I was talking to the therapist just kept asking the same question. So what childhood trauma do you have? And I'm like, I don't have any. And she like kept asking the same question. I'm like, I really don't have any that I could sit here and what you want me to say. And I literally said, I didn't like my dad cursing at me. And she looked
That
at
was
me
the worst
like,
you had.
girl. She looked at me like, girl. I'm like, yeah. She's like, I'm just trying to figure out, well, what is the trauma? And I'm like, both of my parents are gone. Like, that's all that I know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when things are good, that's who I call. When things are bad, that's who I call. When I'm just need to talk, that's who I call. And I'm like, I don't know how to move on with life now. And she's like, I wish that I could have a lot of people just come in here and that's just the issue. And I'm like, ma'am, just help me. Like, you know
But
what I mean?
that's also like that has my mind like I have a bunch of questions now because like okay, so why does she think you have trauma? Like
That's what I did not
what
understand.
why did she assume
I had
that
no,
you had trauma?
right. And I literally
why?
went in there and she said, why are you here? And I said, I told her my mom passed away a few years ago. My dad just passed away. And I said, I am struggling with moving on with my life because that's what
Yeah.
I'm used to. And she's just like, well, we got to get to your childhood. Like, did you go through anything as a child? I said, no. I said, I really can't tell you nothing bad that happened in my childhood that I'm like, oh, my parents were terrible people and I got to heal from this. I can't tell you that. I said that that's the only thing I can literally tell you is that my dad used to curse me out when I would do something, and I did not like that. She's just looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, okay.
That's crazy to me.
Because I guess it's normal for people to have childhood trauma.
I mean, well, I'm gonna say our people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's be real.
No, that's true.
Our people, yeah.
Mm.
Because for all she know, your dad wasn't even there. You know, like you just healing from.
That's how she.
Trying to grieve the fact that he's gone, but he wasn't there for you. That's what your trauma was supposed to be.
I guess, but
you know what I'm saying? Like that. How many?
Oh,
times,
I didn't go back. Just 2 weeks.
I wouldn't have went back either.
I didn't go back.
But how many times do we watch little commercials and the families are not people of color?
That's true.
They got a mom and kids.
Mm-hmm.
What we don't come from families. we don't have family units anymore. And that's really like, this is what they think of us anyway.
Mhm.
So like,
You
let's
girl, you
stop.
don't understand. You do not understand what I go through as a parent, a grown woman of 4 children. When people approach me and I tell them, like, if we have a conversation and I tell them I have kids, they automatically assume that I am a single mother and I'm on all types of assistance. They never ask me like, oh, you got like, how did you get here? None of that. It's always like, you got 4 kids. Like, I know you get this X, Y, Z. I don't get none of that. No, I don't at all. Literally, somebody at my job said that to me. Like, oh, you have 4 kids. I guess you get food stamps. I'm like, no, I don't.
No shade to the food stamp.
Right.
But
Like, please, I would love them. I would love them. But it's
yeah.
just like, I was like, no, I don't. I would like to.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, why do you have all these kids? I'm like, because I have a husband and that's what he wanted. Cut that short. But it's just like, people don't think that.
No.
Especially when they look at me, they automatically think I'm just some young girl who got all these kids. No, I take care of my kids.
And
believe
it's
me.
not to say that we need to care about what people think necessarily.
But
if that is what the normal like thought process is when they see black and brown girls with multiple kids,
they just think that you're a single mom, and that's sick.
Terrible.
That's sad.
But to be fair, a lot of times that is the case.
Yeah.
It's the case.
That ain't mine, so don't.
It's not yours. And you also grew up with parents, right? You were lucky, fortunate.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee if you go through friends, it's not going to be many that's going to check off those boxes with you.
That's true. Yeah, you're right about that.
If I go through friends, most of them, except for you, are going to check those boxes with me. Most people, especially from where we're from, are going to relate to being raised by grandparents,
or
single moms.
Single mom, yeah.
They're going to relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to relate to that because that's what a lot of us have experienced.
And you want to know what's weird? Growing up, I was treated a little weird because I grew up with both parents. Like, it was like people were so mean to me.
Sure they were.
I had both of my parents. I'm like, bro, I did not do this. I'm sorry that my mom did that. I'm not like, that literally was rough growing up. Like, why are you mad at me for that? And then I'm not treating you bad. I don't.
It's not a conversation that they're having with their parents.
And to know me growing up, like when it came down to me, like wanting friends, I'd be like, oh, I want my friends to do exactly what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, you were my friend. I wasn't mean. I wasn't like, I didn't act weird because, you know.
But another thing too is also it's what we're teaching kids too. Conversations that we're not having with the kids. Like, you got to address the elephant in the room sometimes.
You're right.
Your kids are going to school and their friends are talking about their moms and their dads. If your kid's coming home to no dad in the house, you got to address that with your kids. See how they're feeling. Right. You know what I mean? Understand where they're at mentally, emotionally, with stuff like that. Just because you think you're providing everything under the sun for them doesn't mean that they're not emotionally triggered and have trauma because of that absent parent.
No, that's true.
You have to talk to them and meet them where they're at. You know what I'm saying? I talked to my son more than one time. Like, when he went through phases of like, not wanting to deal with his dad because of him not being there, I literally had to be that person, even though I wanted to be like, F it. You know what I mean? But as a parent.
And as an adult.
It's not about me.
No.
It's not about us. What I knew was that if you didn't get the time to spend with your dad, it's going to travel with you into adulthood. What I knew was you want a relationship. You're just mad it's not coming how you want it to come. So whenever he would call, I would let him go. If he wanted to go. I didn't force him to go anywhere.
Listen,
never force him to go anywhere, but I let him go.
But I also, and I was more encouraging too. Like, my kid's father don't live in the state, and if I'm going that way, believe me, I'm going to send him a message. Listen, I'm coming out that way. You want your kids to come? I'm not that parent that's going to be like, oh, he ain't taking care of his kids. I don't care. I'm not going to.
It's not about you.
It's never been about me, and I've always been the same way. I don't care where you're at. If you want your kids, if you want to spend time with them, ask me. But I'm not going to say I have. We gotta be realistic. You can't just want them when you want it to be beneficial for you.
Yeah, no.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so my thing is, there's never been a time where he's like, oh, like I said, if I'm going there, hey, can you want the kids? You want to see the kids? I'll be out here for the weekend. This is what I'm doing. Do you want them? But I don't see the purpose of keeping your kids away from their father and all of that. Like, unless they're actually being harmed.
Yeah, or you don't think they're gonna be in a safe environment.
That's the only way I could see that. But Not to just offer your
I've never been that way.
but a lot of people use that. Like, I don't know, people
Use kids as
well,
crutches?
yeah, they will
Yeah.
use kids to control how they move with the other parent, and that's weird to
It's
me.
not right.
Mm-mm.
I've never ever once, and I'm talking about like I've never had a co-parenting relationship with my son's dad. We've never had a co-parenting
No,
relationship.
me neither. I
Um,
mean, we have our little spurts where we can be cool, but that was years ago.
we
Now,
never
girl,
had a co-parenting relationship. I've never experienced that before.
yeah,
So it's always been like, okay, Chooch got his own phone. So you got his number. If you want to talk to him,
right,
call that phone. And Chooch would always say, oh, can I go? Can I do that? And I always would say yes.
yeah,
There was times where when he thought he was beefing with his dad because, having that little animosity as a kid, his dad would call and ask to go, and he would be like, no. And I would have to then roll up my sleeves and try to be the bigger person and have a conversation with my child. Like, listen, I understand you're upset with your dad, but deep down inside, I know you want a relationship. So when he's trying, just do
yeah.
it. You know what I mean? Because that's what you really want. You're not going to hurt anybody but yourself. Do you know how hard that conversation was for me to have all the time when deep down inside, I wanted to be like,
Man, he can go to hell. But.
yeah, but if it was
But no,
up to me,
that's facts. And my kids will tell you, I've never ever talked down like bad about their dad.
no,
you
Chooch would never be able to be like, oh, my mom did this.
no.
And the reason why is because I always felt like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was a child that unfortunately wasn't raised with parents, right? I'm now a single mom, right? We're not together anymore. I have someone and someone's helping me raise this child, but it's not his dad. Like, no matter how we flip it, twist it, that's not his father. Like, that's his dad that he has in home, but he still wants that relationship with his dad. There's room for both of them. Jeff's not going to replace his dad, right? Never was going to do that. Never tried to do that. Always was like, I'm here, but always knew like he still needed what he needed from his dad that I'm not going to be able to give him because I'm just not that person.
Right.
But I always try to be the bigger person and just let my son know, like, don't spite yourself. Because if you keep pushing away for far enough, that'll be their excuse to not come back.
Yeah.
Oh, when I tried, he didn't want to. And what he never was going to do was be able to say, like, oh, your mom did X, Y, and
please,
Z.
Please.
You don't mention me.
Please.
Don't link me to that. Because that never
That's the last thing you
that never happened. I always was compliant. I always was, supportive. Even when I didn't have to be.
Yeah.
Because it was what's best for him. It wasn't about me and you. I was fine. And I was doing everything I could do as a mom.
Yeah.
But it just comes back to just always putting the kids first, even with these decisions that we're making. Like, if you know you're not in a good situation, use the resources that's out there to prevent pregnancies with people that you don't see no future with.
Right.
I'm not saying you gotta be married because even if you're married, it's still a possibility you could be divorced.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to
like
preach
you gotta
anything.
Really think about how you want to bring a child into this world with if you want to even co-parent. Like, some people are fine with just being co-parents.
Yeah. But
how
is
does
that
that
person going to co-parent with you?
Yeah.
Is that going to be a positive and a successful co-parenting situation?
Right.
Is your child going to thrive in this co-parenting situation?
Because there's some people, I mean, there's people that I know who grew up with their mom being here and their dad being there, and they're fine and they loved it that way because their parents just couldn't
and
be
they got
together.
double of everything probably.
Yeah, and their parents just couldn't be together, and that's fine. But it's a problem when you have kids and you don't see a future. I'm no way you should just be out here just having kids just to say, oh yeah, I'm having a kid. I don't care who takes care of it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, if you're gonna have a kid, at least have some type of plan. Like, you know what I mean?
Intent.
Don't just bring no kid in this world with
like
nothing.
you don't know this person.
weird.
You've been with this person for 6 months, 3 months, and now you're
popping out a
pregnant.
baby. No.
You're risking your life. Like, that's what's really the big thing for me.
Yeah.
Like, our people specifically die so much during labor and delivery. We risk our lives to bring life into the world. There is no reason why we are doing that for just anybody.
Right.
I'm not saying it got to be your husband. I'm not here to preach that to nobody because I've
But you
been
should
there,
just
done
really just
that.
be mindful when you're bringing.
But if this is what you're doing, you bringing his life here, please have intent for this child, intent for the future for this kid, because the kid's going to have to bear all the things that you think don't matter.
That's true.
You think you're gonna
And then you
fill
like
in?
you think about it. Just think about like somebody. Imagine being in a relationship with somebody, or not even a relationship with somebody. Imagine having a baby by somebody, and they say, "I wanted you to get rid of it." Like you didn't. You these conversations need to even be had before you even lay down with somebody. Like, where do you see yourself in life? Because I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm older now.
Can we not even? We're not gonna even say laying down. Like, why aren't you using protection? Forget laying down. Lay down all you want. You want to lay down? Lay down. Who cares who you lay down with? I don't care where you lay, who you lay. It doesn't matter. But why are we not? Yeah, but I'm gonna say it. Why are we not using protection? Because that's how y'all getting pregnant. Y'all not getting pregnant from laying down. Okay?
They're laying down. I'm
Lay
keeping
down-
the PG-13.
Lay down all you want. Lay down. Okay. Where's the protection?
A lot of people don't believe in it.
Where's it at? You know what I mean? Like where?
Nobody believes in that. Unfortunately. No, seriously, like
It's out there, and they give it for free sometimes.
It's deep. Like
They
it's
give
so
it for free
deep.
sometimes. Why? I don't even care about none of the other stuff. It's just why are we not protecting ourselves? Why are we getting pregnant by people who don't got jobs,
people do
don't
not
have
care about
lives,
protection.
don't have nothing going on?
They just think about what feels good. They're not thinking about what the long term.
How you
is.
could? All right,
I'm telling
you said
you.
PG.
I'm just being.
You
We're
said
being for real. People
Wait,
don't
you
think
said
about
PG?
it.
Oh, I'm gonna do PG because
PG-13.
feeling good.
They worried about a feeling.
Ma'am.
They're not worried about the long term of it.
I mean, for real.
Girl, you was worried about feeling too at one point.
Yeah, and that's what yes, I was. But now I know, like, if I'm ever to the point, like, I could do that for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even need the,
But
like,
this
the
is where we're
extra-
at now. But I'm saying before.
That's why it's no judgment. I'm not judging nobody.
And don't get me wrong.
There.
I was never just out here just having, sex with no protection.
No.
Believe me, anybody I have
No, right.
unprotected sex with it, I got a kid by. So yeah, that's where we're at in life. But
yes, me too. But I'm saying, like,
I was never just about to be out here just like, oh yeah,
shoot up the
raw dog man. Like,
oh my God. All right, y'all. Yes. So please, y'all, let's be intentional about new life. Let's be intentional about who we let in put babies in our wombs. Let's be intentional about who we willing to lay our lives on the line for.
Yes, and be intentional about bringing these kids into this world and raising them.
And be intentional about
doing up.
Be intentional about doing what's right for them always.
Always.
Always. Always. Do what's right for them always. Because at the end of the day, the kids are the future. They coming up, and I'm not trying to
and I'm tired of them wanting to be rappers. I'm tired of it.
We need some doctors.
We need
lawyers.
a president.
We need electricians, plumbers. We need auto mechanics. We need, okay? We don't need YouTubers. We don't need.
Wait, time out.
What?
They're coming up in the world. You got to think about that.
I'm not shading them. That's great. That's good. All that's great. But these kids think that that's all they got to do.
No, facts.
Oh, I'm be content creator. No, go be a doctor.
And you want to know something? They see how all these content creators are making so much money. So if you tell them like, oh yeah, I'm making this, they're like, that's it.
We're in the real world. Reality.
Excuse me?
Reality. We're in reality. So yes, we need to bring these kids up the best to our ability. We're not going to always do it right. We're not going to always hit on the nose every time. Have conversations. Talk to your kids. Be intentional with them and be intentional with you.
Yes, very much so.
Thank y'all. We back. We appreciate y'all.